1, 2. Morning. No, I need to use the mic. I need to use it. Yeah. Sorry. Good morning. Good morning. So apologies about this 30 minutes, 39 minutes late start. So without a lot of talk, we're just going to go straight into the business of the day. And it is our very first panel, well, second panel. We had one yesterday, but our second panel, first one of the day, which is a panel on digital storytelling. And one that I'm quite looking forward to be honest, because we have like really, really solid panelists, but also looking to see how they unearth like their stories and let us know how we as young people, young creatives, young Sierra Leoneans can be able to now preserve our cultures and traditions utilizing modern ways. So good morning again. I want to just quickly introduce our moderator, and she will call on the panelists to come take their respective seats. So, can we get a round of applause guys? Yes. Can we get a round of applause for Miss Alima Umu Sise, the founder of Evolve 232. Yeah.
Everyone, good morning. I know so we're all late small, but good morning. We get a very long day ahead of we, so finally we get energy. myself the Femio Energy. But thank you so much for being here today. Myself they look forward for learn a lot, and I want for go straight into today business and introduce we panelists them for this session. So the first person that I'm going to call is Mr. John Akinola. Please welcome Mr. John Akinola on stage. And the second person that I'm going to call on stage is Mr. Ben Kaifala. I hope I call your name correct. If I not call your name correct, please help me out a big. You guys' name are really serious. Jesus Christ. I think the third person already knows I get forget issues with the name, so you know, on a big on my behalf. But the third person is someone where I don't hear a lot about, and everybody here, please welcome Mr. Wahid. When he comes on stage, he's going to tell you what's in their last name. Guys, please clap. Not so easy, people, and sit up here. Thank you. Then deserve this clap when I give them. Okay. Now I either them both. Okay, no, I will see here. Yeah.
What's if I do it now? Oh,
So for help we all, I go ask everybody for please introduce themselves. So una self go get their name fine one, because even me are there today for learn. So we'll start from Mr. Wahid and come to Mr. John. Thank you. Good morning.
Okay, good morning. My name is Dr. Wahid. I'm a medical practitioner and I'm also a media enthusiast. And I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Joseph Ben Kaifala. I am the less notorious Ben Kaifala in this city. When I was in law school, my American professors hardly called on me because they were afraid of mispronouncing my name. In America, when you're in law school, they call you by your last name, Mr. Kaifala. But there was one professor who didn't care. So every now and then he would struggle. He said, you know I'm talking to you, right? Answer the question.
Okay, so the gentleman next to me.
John Akinola, a communications professional and filmmaker.
Okay, so I got to go back and address Dr. Wahid. I'm so sorry, doctor. It's okay. Fine. Okay, hi everyone. My name is Alima Omosise and I'm the founder for Evolve 232. And today we're here to talk and debate and have a conversation. Mostly I can like for say we day about forget a conversation and not like for just put a massive, you know, we were there up here, we just the talk. So we're here to have a conversation so that everybody in this room go get for understand what we really talk about. So we go step by step and suffer small, so now we go understand we and we go get we whatever we they talk here today. So let's go straight into it. We're talking today about digital storytelling, preserving tradition in a modern world. Digital storytelling. Now we they talk about here today. So we want to understand how the ways and the means how we will preserve tradition in the modern world where we live today. This world where they live, how we can able keep with storytelling them alive, how we can able protect them, how we can able save them using the digital world where we they live in. So again, the first question of the day. And we're starting with Dr. Wahid. When you think of preserving tradition in a modern world, what is a story, memory, or image that you can shape how you see your work today. When you think of preserving tradition in a modern world, what is a story, memory, or image that shaped how you see your work today?
Okay. The one I would remember most would be there's something we do have when we were young, which is we call it Tales by Moonlight, where we usually, sit down and you have maybe an uncle or a senior member of the family gather us most of the time in the evenings and just tell us stories. And they usually use those stories as a form of passing on messages about morals and how you behave in life and how you do things. And for most of us in the Yoruba culture, has this good using storytelling to pass morals, to people. And when I realized that if we try to bring that in now, there's a way we can use, modern communication tools to preserve most of those storytelling measures that were used by then, which probably most of our kids do not have access to anymore. Nobody has that. I don't know the last time one has sat outside to look at the moon or said they would gather people and sit outside, to discuss things like that village setting. But everybody is either doing on TikTok or Instagram Reels and stuff like that. But I believe that's a medium where we can bring back those early storytelling measures and infuse it into the modern way of saying things now. And we can also use that to, pass most of our messages across and also even preserve most of the cultural that we grew up with. I was on Instagram some few days ago and I watched a guy that did a story explaining how, like in Nigeria, there's something they say where they say, I no get shishi. When someone says I no get shishi, you do not understand how this came about. People just grew up with that saying, I no get shishi, I no get shishi. Whereas the story came about in the colonial times when pence, or they were using sixpence. And the sixpence, because the locals don't know how to call it, they call it sisi pensy. People in the north are calling it sisi. And along the line, in order for people to be able to call it very well, they started calling it sisi. So it became sisi. And along the line, it evolved to we, and we don't get shishi, I don't get shishi. But people do not really understand how that came about. But I just want that guy to bring that in, document it along the times, and that's a preservation for the future. So it helps to preserve that story. Yeah, thank you.
I guess we all don't use that word there. I not get shishi, so we don't understand where I come off from now, right? We don't get the storytelling behind said by the wonderful Dr. Wahid. So this is the thing about storytelling. I feel like one of the reasons, but I feel like one of the reasons why I study journalism get to do with storytelling. This is because journalism to unfold a lot of stories them we don't even know when they start, how they start, who side they start from. You understand? So being able to sit here today and talk and hear from people and we understand these things, it's very important. So they alone or they forget. We are no longer the kids that, like the gentleman said, we're no longer those kids. I remember when I be small, my granny used to tell you story, but after me, I don't think any of my sister they enjoy that again, to be honest. Now it's just TikTok. Even me, 16 years old sister, they TikTok. As young as she is, yes sir. So the same question goes. Can I read it?
Yes, please.
Okay.
I was hoping it's not the same.
So the question is, when you think of preserving tradition in a modern world, what is a story, memory, or image that shaped you, that shaped how you see your work today?
For me, I have always said that I wished most Sierra Leoneans actually understands Mende, not because it should be the only ethnic group. I value the diversity of our ethnicity, but I think I would have loved a lot of people to understand Salia Koroma's music. It's unfortunate that a whole sect of Sierra Leoneans will never understand what Salia Koroma sang about. That is where I acquired much of my history and storytelling ideas from. When you listen to Salia Koroma, he is speaking in idioms and proverbs and telling you history. In fact, when I became a historian, I needed to understand what happened to one of our politicians in this country who was killed a while ago, FM Mina. I understood the story of FM Mina's actual life from Salia Koroma, because he sang a whole song about the incident pertaining to the murder of FM Mina by the government of Joseph Momo. So Salia Koroma has had a lot of influence of me. In fact, even now I go back to his music to learn tradition, culture, and even proper Mende, because many of us city folks these days don't even speak proper Mende. Those of you who have listened to the member podcast, which is produced by the Center for Memory and Reparation, will realize that it opens with music from Salia Koroma. If you've never heard Salia Koroma's music, and even if you don't speak Mende, go and listen to it, because we do a fantastic podcast, by the way. But people who, because it's in English, everyone understands that, but they call me not to comment on the information in the podcast, but on the opening song, the accordion music by Salia Koroma. And most of them don't even understand what I'm saying. They just say, that music if I know. So that's the kind of influence. I believe that you can have people's attention by putting pertinent information into relevant stories. And we have lost our ability to do that. That's why we don't even have much writers anymore, because writing requires a certain finesse in storytelling, which our dear friends in Nigeria are very good at. We used to be good at, but we have moved on to other things. In terms of modernity, I don't want us to be Luddites. Anybody knows who the Luddites were? You can just raise your hand. It's not an exam. If you don't know, I'll explain. You don't know the Luddites. When the Industrial Revolution started, there were a group of people in England known as the Luddites who resisted the change because they thought it would cause them to lose their job. So they did not want the technological innovation that was happening at the time. There were a lot of resistance. There are many in our society today who resist technology as Luddites. And I don't want that, because that would also mean a rejection of progress. What we can do is incorporate our storytelling ability into the technological innovation that is available to us. That is why I do podcasts, and I use my traditional storytelling skills to bring you relevant information. So these are the influences. But in terms of storytelling, really, I've always envied the ability of, any of you know who David Attenborough is? Anybody know David Attenborough? Now, this is a BBC reporter he started. David, look, I love animals, but I will never would have sat down for an hour to watch a film about raccoons. But I can assure you that David Attenborough will make you sit and watch an hour of documentary on raccoons, or even a rata. Because every sentence, everything that comes out of his mouth keeps you wanting to know more. And that's the ability we used to have under the moonlight. which we are not doing anymore. And I think we should try to incorporate these things into the authenticity of our of what is coming with technology now. And for those of you who are in this room, everybody has an ethnicity in this country. The only thing I can tell you, what has made me a better storyteller and a better writer, is I speak my languages. The shwen we una kindepa, you reject your local timni madingo, is affecting your ability to even write your own bio. Because I speak Mende, Kisi, Mandingo, English, and French, I make a better storyteller. At least that's what I believe.
Thank you. That was very, very inspirational. And if Olana for speaking back. Yes, Mr. John. Can I ask you the question again? Okay. So the question is, when you think of preserving tradition in a modern world, what story, memory, or image that shaped you, that shaped how you see your work today?
Growing up, there were two stories about two animals that they were like different versions of the story, and each version had a moral to it. There was the Bra Spider stories, and then there was the Bra Rabbit stories. Bra Rabbit was a very cunning animal and knew how to get his way around things and use wisdom, sometimes to his own detriment in the end. But there was always a moral, there was always a lesson at the end of it. Same with the Bra Spider stories. And as a kid, I remember sitting down and listening to these stories, and they're ingrained in me up until now. I don't think anybody younger than 17 in Sierra Leone now is getting those stories. Very few people are getting those stories. But in terms of pushing morals, our values, culture, who we are as a people, it is important that these stories stay alive. They might not appeal to the younger audience in the way it appealed to us, but there are ways to present these stories so that the younger audience can see them. We are now in a fast-paced world. Storytelling is more fast-paced. It is more graphic. It's more visual. Back then, somebody sits down and you get around the person and you tell stories. And it was so interesting when we were in primary school, we would have kids who their parents told them stories at home, or aunties or uncles, come to school. And there were some that were particularly good storytellers and would sit around them during lunch and listen to them recount those stories. Some, of course, put their own spin to it. But it was something that engaged us. We would go past lunchtime and not want to go back to class because of those stories. And they all had a value, a lesson, something to teach us about our culture. Now we embraced so many things, especially from the West. And like Mr. Kaifala was saying, if you ignore your roots, if you ignore your language, there's something about you that you lose. Your originality. Parts of why we struggle to cut through the noise in a more global world, in a world you can sit down and watch something somebody makes in their bedroom in the US, in China, and the rest, is that they come with their originality, they come with their culture. We instead borrow their culture. We can't do what they do better than them. We can't tell their stories better than them. We have to go back to those old stories, dig deep into what is imprinted in us, because let me not go down that rabbit hole, but who we are is as a result of what has been imprinted in our DNA for a very long time. And to get to the peak of yourself, the best version of yourself, you have to tap into what has been refined over time in your DNA. and to bring a unique version of yourself, you have to also tap into that. So in our storytelling, we have to tap into that. In our music, we have to tap into that because music is part of storytelling. In our films, we have to tap into that. I see some of our local films being produced, and they're doing like what we call epic movies about our culture. And you look at the attires from our epic movies, you look at the way they even speak, they're borrowing things from Nigeria. Nigeria is a sister nation, but how about we do our own thing? How about we do proper research for our movies, get down into the old stories and use them? I saw a video on TikTok. I'm new on TikTok. But I saw a video on TikTok that and I saw Davido speaking about his new hit song, and he said that he borrowed it from a song that Bright Chimezie is an older singer, and Bright Chimezie borrowed that song from an even older singer, but it's now a hit. Basically, what he has done, he's taken originality from the storytelling of his ancestors and basically packaged it for us now, and it's doing well. And I think we should borrow from that.
Okay. We're learning. Are we learning? Are we learning? Okay, so I have a question for you guys, okay? Two questions. Let me ask my own question before going to this one. Any one of we there, where we granny or we grandpa then, or we auntie they used to tell story back in the day? Because now I feel like then cheat week, because these men here are talking about enjoying that moment. I don't think I ever enjoyed that moment. Did any one of us? Because I think you guys are my, we're the same age, right? I can't tell you my age though, but we're the same. So did anyone, one of us here enjoy? Okay, one. Who else? Just one? Oh my God. Okay, two. Okay. It's not bad. 4 is fine. It's okay. It's not bad. Okay. Let's do better for our own kids though, please. My question here is for, you guys, everyone sitting here. Can you please raise your hands if you ever share the piece of Sierra Leone tradition digitally, whether a post, a photo, or a song? I know someone here that's what he does, but besides him though, who else? I do. There are pictures I see on the internet about Sierra Leone that I share all the time. Nobody else? Please, you guys, raise your hands. Oh my God. I was expecting everybody to raise their hands up. It's Sierra Leone. We have good culture. We have things we can post on our social media. There's a page on Instagram. It's Hello Sierra Leone. They usually post stuff about, Sierra Leone, and I do share them. Please, let's share it. Come on. You guys are not proud to share the small thing that where we go boast off. We should, please. That's the only way other people get to see what we have in Sierra Leone. I mean, there are other ways, right? But that's the major way we get to share what we have here. So, my second question is directly to the commissioner. The commissioner, right? Yes. Okay. I just want to make sure. How is your office using digital tools to make heritage more accessible? Any current or upcoming projects? We're putting you on the spot.
No, that's fine. Again, first of all, you asked a question about whether people are sitting around their elders and hearing stories. It doesn't have to be formal. The way I still learn from my elders is going to what I usually describe as village meetings. Village meetings is when your family call meetings that you are completely disinterested in, but you just sit there and watch how people speak, where they start, what they say. It'll teach you a lot of lessons about tradition. I'll tell you a story. So one of the other work that I do is to protect mass graves left by our civil war in this country. One of the things I ensure that people do in these communities is traditional burial rites. Traditional burial rites are things we do when people die in the country. Sometimes Christian tradition, sometimes Muslim tradition, even though I keep referring to these religions as foreign religions. But the older man who was pouring the libation, evidently he's very old, respects his tradition, he's doing it the proper way. He's a Mende chief in Kailaun. So he's calling on all these ancestors. Kailaun, I had bought a huge bottle of rum for this purpose. And he's so into this oral tradition, pouring this libation, and he's pouring this rum. He's pouring and he is calling the names of all the ancestors of Kailaun. And the other section chief who wants this rum to remain so he can drink it later is watching this old man pour this rum into the ground, and he's very worried. And at some point he couldn't hold it. He said, "Mother, take me home." Grandpa, you're not supposed to put everything on the ground. But that's the perspective. As far as the commission is concerned, my commission is one of the institutions in this country that is actually supposed to make you love your tradition, because we turn them into monuments and relics to make you, to steady you on the foundations of the past as you enter into the present and future. Now, we have realized that we cannot continue to do it the old way, and this is, in fact, is something I'm still dealing with at the commission and all the other institutions that supervise my commission, because they are still fixated on this old way of doing things, where you say, let we do projects idea of bringing the monuments to life. Because one of the things I said when I got into the commission the first time, bring the staff together and said, a monument without a story is a mere object. I said, this is the direction this commission is taking now. They're still processing that. But when you say, let's tell young people about our monuments, I say, let's go do concerts, let's go do play in our community. And they can't think of anything else beyond that, because that's how they've always done it. When they're so fixated on these archaic, again, I'm a relic institution, we should be happy with the past, but I just couldn't understand. And one of the things we're trying to do is use digital means of using young people. If I do a play in the market square, you all are not going to be there. You're not going to be there. So we are instituting a podcast, short clip ideas into telling the stories of monuments, because what makes monuments monumental is the story behind them, not the objects themselves. Is what we make of them, what they represent in our society. And when we tell these stories properly, bring it to you on your phones, on television, you will be able to appreciate them and perhaps to change your own way of living. And that's the direction I'm trying to take with the commission, to make sure that the information about your monuments, your relics, your cultures and tradition is accessible to you. I do that with small drone storytelling. Some of you have seen it. But one of the things I'm doing now is, and somebody didn't understand this because the person really loves the short video that I do. And I told them that the short videos are fantastic. Why you love them? But I told the person that that's now old people storytelling. This is how I describe it. I said, I want a baddie storytelling. So I'm looking for, you know how the baddies visit places and say, so guys, today I am at the Monuments and Relics Commission. We're about to see the, yeah, that's what they want, not, this is State House. So we are also trying to diversify into these new modern storytelling ideas and not just give you the whole story, David Attenborough kind of storytelling, but to give you your generation, the body, what you understand and feel comfortable watching all the time. So we are bringing somebody now to look at all our monuments and collaborate with them so they can visit them and tell their stories. I'm also working on what I call Pound One History of Sierra Leone. Most people are not reading. When you post long something, as I read one paragraph, say, this is my eye to get could talk. So I'm trying to tell you your history, your culture and tradition in 1 minute. So I'll take a topic in Sierra Leonean history, talk about it just for 1 minute. If interests you, you can and find out more. But we want to attract you with 1 minute videos about authentic Sierra Leonean stories that are meaningful to your cultural and traditional existence.
Thank you. That was very interesting. We're looking for a baddie storyteller. Are you a baddie storyteller? That was really interesting. I've never heard that word. But okay, next to you, Doctor. So my question for you is, how do you decide what to document visually? Do you feel a responsibility in shaping how people see our culture?
Of course, one of the things I look at, I look at it in two ways. Number one, I, being someone coming from outside, I try to develop questions about the Sierra Leone culture and try to find answers. Where I can find answers, I see it as something that needs, a story that needs to be told. You know, there was a time I started something on Facebook. I just started writing about, but I got tired because I couldn't get more of those proverbs. I wanted Creole proverbs. Let's understand where they came from and explain it in English so people could understand. You understand? So imagine someone just said, kill dog before dog, let dog know say die there, right? No, is that how to say? Yeah, kill dog before dog, let dog know say die there. That kind of thing. How did it come about? Those kind of stories, those kind of things. So I try to ask questions and I look at it that, okay, there should be a way we could document things. Not looking down on the Sierra Leone culture, but when I came, I keep asking myself, and I keep asking myself even till today, that really what exactly is the Sierra Leone culture? And you see that it's kind of being eroded every day. And you know, that's why I tackle guys on Facebook. Maybe someone just writes something, see big yash, I'm sorry. I ask, what's the meaning of yash? Is this a Sierra Leone slang? It is not. You know, there are so many things I see people doing every day that I see there's a Nigerianization of the Sierra Leone culture itself. You see it in marriages, even when people dress for marriages, I don't see anything different. It's like I'm seeing my brothers and sisters. Yeah. Everything down there. Even to the extent that, okay, look at someone came around the other day and was doing this AI robot, and immediately we started having strings of robots all around. No one has ever thought about it that, okay, fine, I can do this robot stuff, but why can't I do this robot and call it the Mende robot? Yeah. And you know, you start speaking in Mende and you know, go into the village and use it as a way of, you know, passing messages across. You know, those are the things I look at. And I look, okay, there was something my team and I, we were discussing, and we felt we need to go around the streets to document the Sierra Leone food itself. If it's going to be 1 minute reels of stuff that we can do, let people know. People need to know that there is more to Sierra Leone dishes than cassava leaves and petete leaves. I go upline and I see plazas them we Yusef Bikoli. Yeah. Some people have not eaten monkey soup. You understand? Some have not eaten maybe okay pela, maybe they might have. There are some country plazas, you know, that are really to those places. When I go for documentaries in those villages, it's always very wonderful. And when and you know, there's also something that was really instructive. Coming to Sierra Leone, there was that communal eating culture that I really love. You see people then just, even when you go for engagement parties, there's that big bowl and everybody eats. That's something that builds bond. We've not been able to really document that. How did that come about? How have we been able to, you know, push this? So, to me, in documenting, one of the thing in developing storytelling, one of the thing is you need to just have that knack to be able to ask questions, then create a solution to the questions they're asking. Because there are so many questions all around that people need to give answers to. Even look at something as restaurants. There are some restaurants that I go to and I look at how can I'm a Sierra Leonean and I'm opening a restaurant, and the restaurant I'm opening, I'm having all the Western stuff there. That a white man coming in, he's not coming to see that.
Yeah.
That's not going to. You can't do it better than what they have there.
Sure.
But why is it that we can have something whereby when you go, there's something like a Bible corner where you sit and they serve you with eating
Yeah.
dishes. You have Mami Yoko corner. You have this.
Sure.
While you're also learning about epic movies. I'm sorry. I mean, because there was a time I said, I need to tell the story of this Mami Yoko. Where is that story in the right way so people can know about those kind of people? How we tell these are stories I'm telling you that can win stuff on Netflix, that can win a lot of awards. But you know, we're not thinking in that line. It is not enough for us to have something that just depicts love all the time, that talks about this, that talks about that. But there are some epic stories, real epic stories. Let all the actresses, when they go upline, inside the bush, they're 2 months, and shoot something that would know that would really tell this real story. And the thing people do not know is that that's the fastest way right now of getting that story out and getting that culture out there. And I think I'll stop here.
Thank you. Dear, who don't know the land right now? Everybody the land, eh? Okay, thank you. Thank you for learning and thank you for listening. It's very important because today we're actually learning. I'm also learning a lot of things. And so these are things that are very important. It's not everything that they teach you in our school, let's be honest. So spaces like this do help us to learn a lot. And I'm grateful to be here today. Okay, hold on. Okay, let's, Mr. John, I have a question here for you, and it says, what's your approach to adapting oral tradition, and how do you maintain authenticity?
Maintaining oral tradition and authenticity, it's just about intention, really. I'm sorry to get in on this. I've been to Bonds Island 4 times with 4 different guides, some from established companies and some just, and each time the story is different. Each time the place, the last time I went was a couple of weeks ago, and the time before that was maybe like 3 months ago. And one of the biggest things for me was where the guy before that said was the place of no return was different from the and in the story of Bonds Island, that is a very critical part of the story, because the place of no return is basically where the slaves get to and they know that they are not coming back.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what the guides do in a sense, is oral tradition. And interestingly, I've wanted to make a video on it. So both times I went, I filmed. In fact, 3 times I went, I filmed everything. I took drone shots, everything. But because the stories have not lined up, I have not been able to do them, because I cannot intentionally put something out there that I am unsure
Sure about.
is the truth.
Yeah.
So intention is important, because if I was thinking, I just want to make a video about one island, I don't care, I'm just going to take one of these stories and put out there. If my video goes viral, it could easily
Destroy.
influence the narrative of what Bonds Island is about and what actually happened there. And I could, because of my own intentions of going viral, water down the real story. So intention is really important, and research is another thing that is very important. I'm happy to meet you here today because there are quite a few stories I want to make films about, I want to make documentaries about. And part of what I've been thinking about is, how do I get somebody that is going to point me in the right direction in terms of what is written history, what is oral tradition that has been passed down, who do I go and meet that tells me what has been passed down. A lot of what is written history for us in this part of the world was written by the colonialist. We don't have so many people of our origin that have documented things. And the colonialists have their perspective of things. What happened here locally, there is another perspective to it. And in telling the true story, you have to get both. At least most of both. And again, intention. Intention, hard work, doing the research. Because let me go back a little. In 2019, I got approached by Amazon Prime to be their content acquisition person for sub-Saharan Africa. That was just before COVID. And they were very keen on buying African stories. Why? Because they've almost exhausted everything they have in Hollywood. All their history, they've made movies about them, made series about them, and they're now looking for new stories, new perspective, new outlook. That some I know they will adapt to become Western stories. Some of those people there still have the intentions of like telling the stories as they are. There's some people that do that, but that intention has to be there. We have to be the ones that take the responsibility, not just the Monument and Relics Commission, but us as a people take up that responsibility to say, okay, I don't hear my grandpa tell this story. Before he die, I go record am on my phone. Let me not even go too far. I was having a conversation with somebody lately, and I was like, you know what, one thing we're missing in Sierra Leone is being able to spin the narrative around the war. Rwanda experienced a genocide, but they have turned that genocide into a symbol of national cohesion. They have turned it into an opportunity for tourism. And we can do the same. All we have to do is take the facts, take the story, and then turn it into a positive thing. But for most of us Sierra Leoneans, it's almost as if we have decided, you know, it's in this war, it was a bad experience. Let's forget about it. But a people who do not learn from their history, they will probably repeat the same mistakes again.
Yeah, sure.
And it's important not just for us. A lot of us here, I see, were probably young or not born yet. But it is very important that we learn those stories, we keep those stories. There is a way to tell those stories that is not so traumatic, but where the lessons are learned and the message is passed on. a lot of who we are today, whether we like it or not, as a country, is because of that war. A lot of things that are happening now have been influenced by that war. And there are a lot of other things that have happened in our history. Even in music, for example, there are other countries claiming people like Essie Roji and the rest. Nigeria is claiming Essie Roji. He's Sierra Leonean. Palm wine music is being claimed by other countries. It is inherently Sierra Leonean. And these are things we should own. We're talking about our artists, musical artists, for example, going out and competing with the rest of the world. It's very possible. We now have a smaller world on our phones. That is where we do everything. That's where we listen to music. That's where we watch movies. That's where we spend. Most of us, if we check our on-screen time for a day, it's 6 to 8 hours. That's a significant amount of time. And we can sell ourselves to the world, but we need to sell authentically true Sierra Leonean stories. So intention is important. We have to be intentional. Okay, I have to tell a Sierra Leonean story, even if it's fiction, but base it around Sierra Leonean realities. Your costume, your production design, base it around Sierra Leonean fashion. We have a lot of things that we are going to lose in the next 10 to 15 years completely if I suspect most of us are content creators, if we don't document what we have now.
No.
It's a fast-paced world. AI is taking over, and the AI machine, it is what you feed into it that it spits out, basically. I see people on Twitter, anything they are doing now, let me go and ask Grok. You get, but Grok is limited, to be honest. It's limited based on the information that has been fed into it. And if we don't feed, like we were saying earlier, the stories we're talking about, I feel like our generation has failed the younger generation because we haven't found ways to tell those stories to most of you who are here. And by the time you guys turn 50, if we continue at this pace, nobody is going to know about Brer Rabbit. So we have to be intentional in what we do. We have to make sure we tell authentically true stories, do the hard work. Because telling true stories require hard work. Do the hard work, do the research, and then put it out there. Sometimes you do content, 2-3 weeks, nothing happens, and then somebody sees it somewhere and it blows up. So that's what I have to say.
Okay, so I have a question for everyone here. Does any of us from my generation, no disrespect, I love your generation, but from my generation, does any of us know a storyteller, a Sierra Leonean storyteller, very authentic? Does any one of us know anyone? I'm sorry, I'm putting you guys on the spot. No? Hello, Mr. Desmond. Hi. Hello, sir. Hello. Do we know anyone? The man on the computer, the laptop, hello. So nobody knows a storyteller? Okay. Can we please help? Can you guys please help us with any storyteller?
Dominic himself is one storyteller.
I know, that's why I'm calling him. Like, Dominic, please be here. That's why I'm like, hello, Dominic, please be here. So you see, we do have a storyteller among us, but we don't even know. But still, me, I really want to know the generation before us. Do we have at least one? Because me, I'm also learning. Can you tell us one storyteller?
There were a lot of storytellers. The folk musicians were essentially storytellers. Okay. If you don't believe me, just take a time. Don't just when you listen to Dr. Olo from here, don't just listen to Miyao Fine. Listen to the other music. You realize that this man was disseminating gossip and everything that was happening in the city at the time. Even when one of the funniest music I've listened to from Dr. Olo and his band was when one of their contemporaries died. I forget what's this guy's name. He died, so they went into the studio and started singing, and all they are singing about, say, when Ebenezer Calendar died. There's this song, it's just Dr. Ola and all these band members just playing drums and singing, Ebenezer don't go. Because I think Ebenezer Calendar sang one music that says something about leaving, so they use the lyrics of that song just to sing about him. So if you want to hear the story of old Creole existence in this city, go and listen to Dr. Olo. If you want to hear the stories of Mende existence, go and listen to Salia Koroma. And then Ahmed Jankana Bey will tell you a lot about the Madingo, Soso, Timini people. And then there is also Amikalon, who's still alive. Listen to Amikalon if you're Mende. These people are not only singing like your rappers are doing, just talking nonsense. They are telling stories, very authentic stories that you can learn a lot from. At least these are the places that I learned, you know. When Dr. Olo tells you Kokos, that you can't explain it, but you understand. So these are the for us, these were the authentic storytellers. In terms of the stories of Bones Island, I mean, I've written contemporary history of Sierra Leone, which contains many of these stories. I am producing short videos on Bones Island because I'm also dissatisfied with the storytelling that goes on there. Bones Island was a city. There is a whole lot that was happening there. One of the stories I like to tell was that the chief who actually took rent for the island was told by the gods never to step foot on the island. So when he came for rent, he sat in his boat and the slave traders came with his money and he left. But then one time, one of the slave traders insisted that he goes up for dinner. So he too told his war boys to take his boat while he's sitting in it and take it up to the island so he can have dinner. And when they asked, he said, well, the gods told me not to step on the island. I can come to the island sitting in my boat. So there are a whole other stories, but one of the things we're doing in regards to what you said is I'm working with the World Monument Forum to actually label the places. So then now you will know the actual gate of no return. Not just waypoints if you say, this look like gates. It's not the gate of no return. So these are, when I was not commissioner, I used to visit these places. I had the same problems. When I got to the commission, it was now my responsibility to make sure that we solve some of these problems. For instance, I mean, I don't know, recently, when I used to go to Bones Island, every time I went there, the place was bushy, it was not brushed. Sometimes the travel agencies had to bribe people to brush the place before they brought people. The first thing I did when I got to the commission in October last year was, when I go brush Bones Island. When we know the issues, we can solve them. So feel free to bring them up. Listen to your traditional folk music and learn, because these are the storytellers. These are the people bringing the story, and often they speak the languages, our languages, better than we do. You can also learn to speak your language from them. You can learn other languages from this. I speak better Creole. We are a very lucky country. We just need to find a way to bring the authenticity out of it, because we are a very good mixture, not only locally. We don't have too much problem with Nigerian influence, because that has always been part of our existence. The Creole people are partially, Yoruba and Igbo people. So all these traditions were always part of them. But somebody, nowadays, especially for women, we're always policing where they wear. Somebody recently asked me, what is a Mende traditional wear for women? And I said, as less clothing as possible. She thought I was kidding. She thought I was kidding. I said as less clothing as possible because our traditional people did not judge women by, they were not a sexually perverse society where, if a woman leg didn't do, no, it's, people only wrapped the condiglue around themselves and moved on with life because the place was hot. I'm sweating right now because I'm wearing Western suit, corduroy, sitting in a very less functioning air condition. So when you look at these things, you will know your tradition, and it's beautiful. And if we don't sell this authenticity, we sell false things, and the West can see through us, and we're trying to market to them. The films you mentioned, I've seen some. I went to one because it was one of my good friends who was supporting the production. And throughout the movie, this was me sitting down. Because everything happening in that film was wrong. Like, wrong. The girls who were supposed to be traditional, they get weave-on, their makeup sharp as... I swear, one of the queens of the village wear high heel. For that whole hour and a half, I was in a state of shock. So I understand. So look to old music to learn your tradition. The Brad Spider stories. I have produced 2 Brad Spider stories. I just reproduced them, and they are on Amazon because I want to keep them there so that folks. Because somebody asked me in the West, like, what's a typical children's story in Sierra Leone? And I sat there like, oh yeah. So I started to reproduce the Brad Spider stories, and I'm going to continue to do it. And it's not only in Creole that we had these Brad Spider stories. A few days ago, a Mende kid was doing something, and I told him, I know like Casilo business. And he just looked at me like, what's this man talking about? Now, for an older generation of Mende, if you say, I know like Casilo business, they will understand. Because Casilo is Brad Spider. So that meant cunning business, because Brad Spider and these Brad Spider stories is very cunning.
Okay.
I think there are also a few other people. There is Charlie Afna is still alive. He's somebody who has a lot of stories. The Freetongue players are still there.
That's
but
why I listened
he's
on the radio.
there was a radio show. Atunda Ayenda.
Atunda Ayenda.
Yeah, they have over 1,000 episodes of that show, and in those plays there is a lot of history. So like I said, you have to be intentional. If you want to, you will find these places where you get stories about Sierra Leone.
Yeah.
From what I've seen from Kefala talking, I think a lot of stories are in books. So the stories are there in books, but they say if you want to keep anything from a black man, put them in the book.
Yeah.
The videos he says.
True. Okay.
And one important thing, all of you have villages. Go. Go there. Go to your village. The moment when I don't come up old school reach for Abbey College, when I know they reach Blama again, go Blama. Go there. You will learn a lot by just going back to your village.
Oh my God.
Unfortunately for the Creole people, we've taken all their villages and turned it into Freetown. They can't go to village no more.
Yeah.
All right. So, this question is for everyone, but I will start by answering, and then we can follow up with the gentlemen here with me, and then you guys. If you had 30 seconds and a smartphone to tell a story about Sierra Leone tradition, what would you capture and where? So the reason why I decide for answer first is because this is something that I don't want to do for a long time. Me not one of the people when I ever go to the village. So I don't look forward to answer the question for myself is going to my village and really document a whole, well, maybe not a whole, but document what the Limba culture is all about. I know that a day out there, I know that people that we don't do and put it out, but from my own eyes, I want to see what my culture looks like. I want to see what my food, the Limba, food looks like, the Limba space looks like, my people, what what they look like and just be home and get that feel of what home feel like. And then probably learn Limba, because honestly that's one thing that I want for land so bad. So if I can do that in 30 seconds, I'll get feel of home, I'll get feel of my tradition, you know, the Limba looks, the Limba people, their words, how they dress, how they talk, what it feels like to be home. So yes.
I think you should go to them.
Okay, I should come to you guys.
Listen, I like to listen to these answers, because then that's something we can facilitate sometimes.
Okay. So can we please have the audience tell us, if you have 30 seconds, what your story, which part of Salone culture story you would tell? Okay. I don't know if, can someone please get the mic, please, so that we can have the young lady. Thank you.
Hello, good morning. I am Sedia Boitina Kamo, and I am a student at the Institute of Gender Research and Documentation. So for me, I am not a content creator, but if I was given 30 minutes to tell a story about Sierra Leone culture, it would be around women, and know whether the women of the past and women in today's generation, because we have this controversy on social media about how women carry themselves in the past, what they did, they tolerated, the things that they did. And we have this issue where they say nudity is not part of our culture. You should dress in a certain way to be respected by society. Whereas I heard, is it Mr. Joseph Ben, talked about the Mende culture and how less clothing as possible is actually what Mende women, if you talk about the past, that's how they've been, dressing and all. So it will be around women, what they did, how they carried themselves, were they domesticated in marriage, or were they free, did they have free will to do what they wanted to do, and so on. That's what I would do.
That's beautiful. That's really, really beautiful. There's so many women out there, that we don't really know their story. We're just hearing it. So that's really beautiful. But the time is 30 seconds. Anybody else? There's somebody else? The guys are not saying anything? The men are not saying anything. Okay.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Rachel Johnson. So if I was given 30 seconds to tell a story about Sierra Leone, it would be about the Creole culture, because for me it is a mixture of everything Sierra Leone. So I would want to tell a story that shows how everyone can come together and make something beautiful, because Sierra Leone, Creole is now like a national thing. Everyone speaks Creole.
Yes.
So it's one thing that has united us as Sierra Leoneans, and it is the only thing that does not have a language barrier. Because I can go anywhere and I can talk to someone from Kono, someone from, Makeni, and they would understand me. Even if I can't speak their own dialect, they can still relate to me, and we can still have a conversation, and I can still get to know their culture without knowing their language. So I would want to tell a story that shows how as Sierra Leoneans, we have something, at least, that unites all of us together when we all have different traditions and cultures and beliefs.
That's nice. I was about to tell her to give you the mic. It's good that you grab it. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Dominic Fofana. So if I was given 30 seconds to tell a Sierra Leonean story, I think a story that I would tell is why we're called the Lion Mountains. Because I think why I want to do that is to also show the beauty of the pristine nature and the mountains, and why they should be preserved. Because as you can see currently, like, we're losing that.
Yeah.
Like, most of the hills now, if you look at them, like the backdrop, there are not much trees there in like most sites because everyone is building, they're putting like structures on these hills. And if you do that, then I feel like we have to go back to understanding why we were called, why we were named that, we were named after that, and then why we should preserve that. I think if I was given 30 seconds, that's what I would do.
That's
Like get a
nice.
drone shot, show maybe not just of Freetown here, like other parts where like you still have those the trees preserved, and so people can see how beautiful it looks. I have a series of drone shots I've taken in the past, and I saw how people from other countries appreciated those photos way more than Sierra Leoneans did. And I
Wow.
think it's because of like not understanding the essence behind it. Yeah.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you. Anybody else?
Can I say something?
Yes, please.
All right. My name is Ahmed Tijan. I'm also a student at the Fabe College. I think one of our greatest problems as a nation is lack of patriotism. We are not patriot in a sense. We don't have that love and passion for one another. I think I will more base my story on that so that people out there can understand that we need oneness, like the Nigerians, to develop our nation. I think that
That's
will be the
nice.
story that I tell.
That's nice. The
Well,
young
thank you.
woman.
Yeah, Saluman now.
Hi. My name is Fatmata Bundu.
Nice to meet you.
And if I had 30 seconds to talk about Salon culture, I'll go like a different route, more like the food. Because what I would like to call the Englishification of local dishes, them. Like go to a restaurant to go see granite soup. What's not granite soup? Call them granite soup. Call them by name. Because with the see and say not just food, but it's more than just food. It's the bits and pieces of who we are. It's part of our identity. Food also tells a story. So the Englishification of local dishes, them, it's something that we should not take lightly. Call them by their name. Grat soup, potato, even to potato leaves, cassava leaf. So if I had 30 seconds, that is where I would probably talk about.
Thank you. This beautiful. One more. We're taking one more.
So my name Eugene, and if I will get 30 seconds for Cell Salon, I will start with the story that will tell will be small. Brass spider, cunning rabbit, and explain what in the story that they mean to will be small the carp. Because then story that they teach we not for do most of the things they want to do. Like greed, now one. Big guy, now two. Understanding what the other person wants and what the other person need for get from you. That's what we learn from the story then. Because me, I learn a lot from the story then. And because of the story then, they make our value with language and with culture. Because Salon, the language is very rich that we think say it be. And the way you actually express yourself in your language or you sabi, you tend to express yourself more than even you try to express yourself in another language. Where me and people don't get plaba like where my sister they talk about granite soup. I don't go buy food once and they tell me say beans. I was like, no, not binge. I was like, I know they buy beans. A binge they buy. So like going back to that story then and just make we know that story then and the root of that story then will be a selling point.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you very, very much. So our last question for the panelists will be, how can we equip young storytellers to protect and promote tradition in a digital world?
Okay. How can we?
How can we equip young storytellers to protect and promote tradition in a digital world?
Okay. Yeah. I think to add something to the questions that was asked to the people, everybody gave a very good idea. If I have 30 seconds, the thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look at women empowerment. I'm going to look at the strength of women in Sierra Leone because that is usually downplayed. And I'm so shocked that even on this panel, every one of us there, the moderator is not.
That's why I'm here. That's why I'm here.
No. We should have a female here. We should have a female here. So, so one of the things I would want to do is looking at the strength of women, Sierra Leonean women, and I'll title mine "The Grandmothers of Sierra Leone." What do I mean by this? Most of the time, a lot of my friends, when I came, I said, "Hey, what are they to me, granny? Hey, me granny, me granny, me granny." That's something that the granny they do in Sierra Leone that is often underplayed and overlooked, because you see a lot of people growing up, they have a tie to their grandma. And my granny made me. And my granny do this. And you see that attachment. Maybe when they lost the grandma, the attachment is really, the bond is so strong. So I really want to develop stories about that before we lose all the grandmas, so that at least we can develop something around that. Then back to your question about empowering the young ones. Now, I'm so surprised that Wiz here is not even giving anything, because most of the time he's always with me talking about so many ideas he wants to do, and he didn't take the mic. I would want to look at a place where we can, develop something like a creative hub. When I say creative hub, there's one in Nigeria now at Ikeja. I think I've forgotten the name. I don't know if you should. There's a guy that did something. It's like a whole hub, whereby if you want to learn filming, you just walk in, and it has spaces to do so many things. If you want to know how to do a podcast, you can get in there, do it. You want to learn how to do anything in the creative field, you can just walk in and get that done. And it's something that you can do either by paying a small fee or contributing, something whereby you can also learn along the line. It's a big space. So Sierra Leone has gotten to that level whereby you need that. Most of the time I see these youths on TikTok that are doing so well, so many content creators. But you know one thing, people are ignoring these youths. Why? These guys, number one, lights not it. Light not in Nigeria, say for with the bombing. Lights not there. Maybe the internet is bad and everything. And these guys still take their time to still develop a content. And you see the way in fact, I do say that most of the ladies around are the best in editing short videos. They're really very good at it. The way they do this, the way they do the cloning and do all those kind of things. And I realize that a lot of them are just wasting away. How can we empower those ones? It's by having a functional creative hub where they can come in. Maybe once in a while, we have training sessions. When we have training sessions, you have the likes of Mr. Akinola here. It's not Akinola. I don't know why people are calling it Akinola. Akinola doesn't have any meaning. It's Akinola. Aki means a warrior, a warrior with wealth. Where Ola means wealth, So if they say Akinola is Englishification of the name. So we have people like that. You have people like Dominic. Have you seen some of the videos Dominic make and some of the pictures he takes? Really wonderful. We have people like my guy here, Wiz. He does so many things in terms of editing videos and developing content. We can even bring resource people. I looked at it when this guy came around recently, Desmond Elliott and these other guys. These guys came. Of course, they went to a restaurant. There was a local restaurant they went to. That's good. They went and talked about a film. That's good. They slept at Laguna and they flew back. That is an industry giant that we could make that when this guy comes to this country, at least let this guy train or talk to if it's going to be 20 or 30 people. That way, he'll be able to empower them and also, give them some kind of inspiration. So we need to start looking at that. And maybe even the people at the Relics and Monuments and Relics Commission, they can come up with something whereby maybe all these TikTok guys do something about Sierra Leone monuments and submit. Something like that. You will see what people will come up with. Every day I go to different districts and I see clock tower. What does it mean? What's the essence of having a clock tower? There must be a meaning. There must be a story behind that. These are stories we can talk about. These are stories that can be developed. So how can we empower those youths? They already have the zeal. They have the tenacity to go out there and shoot stuff. But how do we now use what they are doing to help them to produce meaningful stuff? It's by having that wonderful creative hub whereby everybody, can come and can learn something from in the way of empowering them. Thank you.
So quick one before I let you go. If someone finds your work in the next 10 years, what do you think, what would they find or what would they learn from about Sierra Leone from it?
Okay. I do say something. I want the most important thing anyway that I do say every time. there was something when I came to Sierra Leone, you know, I learned something here, which is the ability to say sorry so easily. For a Nigerian, it's hard. I'm telling you, for a Nigerian, for late tell you sorry, especially when driving. When you drive rough, you papa, that's the next thing. And the next thing, I'm sorry, the next guy goes with you, mama, something like that. And that's it. But Sierra Leone, I realized when there's a rough, you say, sorry, sorry, I'm like, there's this ability to quickly say sorry and move on. And even when you see maybe two Sierra Leoneans having an issue, and they keep shouting at each other, that's how it goes. It's most times do not generate into fisticuffs. It's hardly that you see such. In my country, that's the regular stuff. It goes papa, you know, on the street, and people don't care. So I really want to tell the story about the humility, accommodativeness of Sierra Leonean. Because if you're talking about a country where they accommodate a lot of people, I must say Sierra Leone stand tall. So every time I want to tell a story, it should be a story that talks about the Sierra Leone being able to accommodate other people, and also about, it's so hard seeing religious tolerance in this age and time. You still find it hard to know if there are more Muslims in Sierra Leone or if there are more Christians, because there's that religious tolerance in the country. So you're looking at how can I, anytime I'm bringing something out, it should be something, you know, that showcases that, so that when someone comes at a glance, you'll be able to pick at least two things: the Sierra Leone accommodation and the religious tolerance of the Sierra Leone people. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir. You.
Well, in terms of hubs, I think for me what's important now as a historian and being the nation's relic is to make sure that I am serving as a human hub. Because authenticity is based on truth, fact, no matter how shameful or how glorious. History is not all glory. History is not all triumphant. There are some horrendous things you may not like because you've been falsely informed before. One of the things people don't like to discuss in this country is whenever I tell them that Madam Yoko was an illegitimate chief. Nobody wants to hear that because this is your first woman leader, and Madam Yoko was placed on her people by the British even when they protested that that is not how they elect their chief. There was a legitimate heir to the throne, and the British wanted somebody who would work for them, so they put Madam Yoko. That's why when the hot tax started, she was one of the chiefs that had to run away because they were coming for her head. People don't like to hear that because you have grown to love Mami Yoko. You can still love her, but you first have to accept that we need to fix the history. Historians before me, oral historians, have told you that Baibure hated the British. Baibure did not hate the British. Baibure fought for the British on many occasions against other tribes in this country. The only reason Baibure fought the British was because the British refused to listen to him, and if somebody is requesting your head on the platter, you have to say, upon my dead body. I want to be the hub that can provide the historical knowledge, the context, the background, so you creatives can do your work authentically. And these are the things, that's the kind of hub that I can be. My sister mentioned the Creole language, which is one of the most amazing thing we have in this country. But I keep saying, and this is only jokingly, that the most horrible thing that has happened to the Creole language is the educated Mendeman. If you want to know what I'm saying, listen to Good Morning Sierra Leone every time an educated Mendeman is there. I remember back in the days, Asma James, let me elaborate Padistia. There's no Creole. If you want to speak English, speak English. So you don't see. And while like that, even the Creole. But the beautiful thing about Creole is, and what makes it so widespread, is that
some of you scientists, it's like an amoeba, that animal, amoeba. Eh? They fit into a space. When you then a Limba territory, they speak Creole and you don't know the exact word waiting for use. If Limba word the way they all understand it, they drop a day. And that make Creole get boku other language, and even the boku where they talk is part of boku.
Yeah.
Etc. etc. Where they say bumbu na mende world. So Creole has always allowed that, but not English. Because now English they try to avoid where they Creole English. So if you want to elaborate in English and not be speaking on people good morning Sierra Leone when you are supposed to be speaking Creole for the masses.
Okay.
So all these things that you have mentioned are things we will incorporate into the work that we do at the Commission, because that's also our primary responsibility. UNDP is working on a hub at Fourabé College. Some of you who are students here have seen that going on. We are also working on a partnership that will bring together a lot of people in this city to discuss what to do with our monuments and relics. So all these conversations are happening, and that is why I like to listen in these spaces, so that why I go back and say, yes, they say, for do this, we do it.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yes, sir.
I think there are a lot of resources around. Number one, I always say, like, on your own as a person, if you want to learn about anything, you can. We're in the internet age. If you want to learn about making videos, about editing, about all of those things, you can, all by yourself. But there are also a few spaces now in Freetown where you can go and get like help directly. I myself, last year, I did a creative workshop, and in July we're hoping to do another series of creative workshops where people can come this time learn like actual skills in terms of creating with audio and video, and also digital skills in the creative space. But again, I go back to intentionality. What do you want to do? What story do you want to tell? Think about the story you want to tell. Think about the resources you need to tell them, and think about the resources at your disposal. There are a lot of free resources online you can use. Take advantage of them. You might not be the Hollywood quality person, but start doing something. I always use, for example, Wode Maya as an example. He's probably one of Africa's biggest YouTubers. But if you watch the quality of his videos that he started with, but he's a great storyteller. The force of his personality and the originality that he had is what brought him to where he is now. He's getting better produced videos. He's walking around with a proper cinematographer and everything. But that's years down the line. So nothing stops you from doing what you need to do. Nothing stops you from telling the story you want to tell. Most of you here have a smartphone. You can start with your smartphone, and keep at it. You have to think about how do you make more people see you, because it's one thing creating the content, and it's also how do you get people to see your content. You have to learn storytelling techniques, because they're actually techniques to telling stories. You have to know your story needs to have a beginning, a middle, and an end. You have to, if you're doing long form content, each scene too has a beginning, a middle, and an end. You have to know that you have to show the people where you are, what you're doing, why you're doing it, who you're doing it with. All of those storytelling techniques are things you can learn. There are workshops around that you can learn them from, but you can also go on YouTube. Me, I'm a cinematographer, a director, a producer now. I did not go to film school. I learned everything by being very curious. When meeting people who were really good in their field, I asked questions, I was humble, and then I used all the available online resources I could take advantage of. Dedication. It's very important to be dedicated, to be really good at what you're doing. So going back to telling stories about Sierra Leone, we all have to be intentional. The ideas some of us have shared here now, it's not just about talking about them. It's about going back home, sitting down, putting some thought into what your idea, and then executing it. You might not have all the resources you need, but start.
Okay, thank you so much. I want to put in our hand in together for we amazing panelists because they really don't do a good job by teaching us and telling us and letting us know our stories, our background, and the things that we need for know how we can able, learn a lot of things from we past, from we forefathers, and a lot of stories telling how storytelling can able help we in this we generation because there's so much we need for land and there's so much we need self need for tell we own picking them. So thank you so much to my amazing panelists. You guys did a great job. I really appreciate it. And thank you so much to Una Safe we sit down and engage. We really appreciate it. If you get any other question, you can meet them and ask them privately. Thank you so much. Today has been good. I'm so grateful to be here and I'm so thankful for all of you. Bye.
Thank you very much. And remember your four mothers.
Hello. So we did take a quick break. We did resume at 12:30, and we get another digital storytelling, but this time the focus will be on photography. So at Dub, I think you're doing this shot. Thank you.
1, 2. Sound testing. 1, 2.
afternoon. Afternoon, eh? Una kabo kabo. So we don't talk about visual storytelling, and one of the aspects of design we tell story a lot is photography, and we get two facilitators where they are pros in their own field, and fortunately I don't able to work with both of them, and they're really amazing what they do, and we want to give them the opportunity for explain to we how storytelling in photography is about. So just one introduce them to we. So the first person where they go will be Dominic Fofana, and then we also get Barry Baggins. Yeah, so Dom. Okay, Dom say me Barry go first. Barry, when I choose this one for go first. Yeah, Dominic, I think. Yeah, I think Dominic, you can start. Yeah, Dominic, you get this. Dom, you want more clap for you for come up? Come on, Dominic.
Hello. Hi. Good afternoon. Well, I feel like, are we here for the Design Week workshop? Because I feel like the people at the back, they are so relaxed. It's like they're not part of this workshop. I believe that if we're all here for this event, maybe we will converge and take up the front seats, and because I don't want the session to be like I'm talking to I know there are lots of MC seats. Well, this session is supposed to be like, more collaborative, and so we can all learn from each other, and as much as you will learn from me and hear about my work. So yeah, so this is not like a panel talk. This is going to be more like a presentation, and I know call I'm saying teaching. I'm not here to teach. I believe we have as much as we have enthusiasts here, we do have some professionals also. So I have to take my time. So I'm going to present based on what has been given to me as a topic. And Eugene, how long do I have? Okay, so quick one. When I was given the opportunity to come and talk, I was able to put up something as quickly as possible because I'll be tied up small these past 2 days. So for the designers here, maybe there will be some, problems with the especially the text. The text and look consistent, because I just had to, Wabi students of the first session, I finish and real quick. So anyways, my name is Dominic. I'm Dominic Fofana. I like to call myself as a visual storyteller, a digital innovative visual storyteller and content creator. I do photography and I also do filmmaking, and more along the lines of like documentary photography and documentary filmmaking. And I've been doing this for, I can say, maybe 8 years now. Yeah, because I started third year in university. And just like most of you here, I was never privy to, formal knowledge. Not to wait till I do, I studied in a college. I studied computer science, where I developed a deep interest and passion for this. And then over the years, this passion has turned to, it all evolve, and then it don't become me, what I now defined and identify as a purpose, and which I come for can do. So we're all going to learn together. And I'm not going to ask and say, okay, you can introduce yourself, but I just want to ask, do we have people who also identify themselves as, aside from Barry, as visual storytellers, as in photographers or even videographers? Okay. So the topic says visual storytelling through photography. And I believe, say, from the word visual storytelling, we all can attest that from we own common understanding that has to do with what we see, right? Because visuals means sight, right? Common term. So visual storytelling simply is trying to say how we can tell stories using visuals and using imagery. So it's a broad term. I guess that's why I didn't specify, then just keep them specific to photography. Because if you say visual storytelling, then that means even people the way they do graphic designs, they are visual storytellers as well, because they use imagery for convey emotions. And usually if we can go to like the next slide, just to look at like the definition, we have here, what is visual storytelling? And like as I say here, is basically using images to tell a narrative or evoke emotions without words. Like just from looking at something, just from seeing something, you're able to understand and, you know, get the meaning from that thing. So whether it's using colors, whether it's using characters within a frame for convey a message or evoke an emotion. And, you know, there are different ways that you can play. I mean, with a few of us who are here professionals understand that how you can also use colors to also evoke. Well, now we're keeping it, you know, specific to photography. So it says using images to tell a narrative or evoke emotions without words. And that is what we define as visual storytelling. And the reason why we do this, the goal, the intent behind this, because why would I want to use visual storytelling skills to convey a narrative or to pass on a message? It's there. We use them also, you know, to engage audiences and transcend language barriers. Earlier on in the first session, we had talks where they mentioned, we're here, right? How many of us were here for the first session? We then talk about like the storytellers, even storytellers from different countries, and how Salone we're slowly, you know, losing our narrative, losing our identity because we're copying other identities, we're copying cultures from other countries. And most of us have not been to these countries yet, but we now identify with their culture. And it's because of the visuals that we conceive, the visuals that we take in, the visuals that we see, you know, from the movies, from pictures. So it transcends language barriers. You know, it creates a memorable and emotionally impactful message. Like you've seen, I think, for don't put them there, but not put them. There is a popular image that was taken a couple of years ago by a popular photojournalist. And the picture was a child, like now two characters, a human and an animal. So I think a war-torn country, and then the picture was in, I think in a field, like a dustbin or something, a boy who looked malnourished, without food, and a vulture. That picture now one of the most powerful pictures them we don't come out from like photojournalism like over the years. A boy will look way malnourished, like he look like he's deprived of food, deprived of water, because now a war-torn country, and a vulture. They are both scavenging for food in a dustbin. So a lot of people then, one of the reasons the picture became popular, and I also see if you follow the Israel-Gaza situation as well, there are so many images coming out from that country now where you see like kids where they starve because of the embargo, the situation where Israel don't put like a ban on getting food into Gaza. So now like photojournalists, journalists, then they use pictures, they use these images now for make the outside world see the situation, like what is going on in Gaza, so like a decision will be made. So in that case also, if we will go for going to army, they see like how can we use visual storytelling to communicate, to pass on information, like in different, I mean, whether it's for advocacy, whether it's for maybe for marketing, whether it's for publicity, PR, marketing, or whether you're campaigning for something political, whether even if it's for church. You understand? So it creates memorable and emotionally impactful messages. And then we can see down there we have like journalism, we have NGOs, we have advertising, social media, documentaries. Like these are the different means, the different mediums that we can actually, apply, that visual storytelling through photography can be applied. So Eugene, we'll just like skip to the next slide real quick. So if you see here, I was able to just put some of my images for show. So if we look at this image here, it's a picture of 4 guys on a boat. Then they, pull through their net before they send them into the sea again for catch fish. So I'm strictly going to go to it for let you understand like what we can like really talk about and understand. And Eugene, the next picture again. And then the next one again, you see a lady walking through, you see by the picture, you see that it's a market. This picture was taken from a campaign where I do for an organization that the focus was to actually show a group of women, living in impoverished communities, where then they use their voices. These are underrepresented women where they live in the slums, using their voices to actually campaign and raise awareness for, the unhealthy living structures where they get, and also for talk about the dangers, for the rainy season. So this is not like a group where one of these ladies, now they usually do like where in season don't come, so like they go around the community, like just like where they can do like that, like what we did where they talk earlier, where they talk about culture, back then in Garrett they called town criers, right? I don't know if Salo gets about, we don't see Ampa Nigeria movies a lot. So they go out and they can tell them now, like, okay, this and this and this, the rains have started, so please stop littering the gutters. Like, stop for the tekidoti, go put some. Or no go and coach Usai na the water because you want to extend your land. You go bank on the water, we're not good because immediately when the rain come. So that is a picture, basically from that campaign, was showing the community, what the community, and then what these women who are the key characters for the story and what they're doing. And if you look at the next one again, is another picture again of the same community, but this not of the women, but just to show like the characters in the community. Because if you're using visual storytelling now, let's say I'm coming here for, I want to tell a story. I want to document. The purpose of me being here now through photography, using photography for tell a story for what is going on here today or for this week through Design Week. So what are the characters that I will capture? What are the people that I will capture? As a photographer, where they try to use photography as a means for tell stories visually without words. I just want to take these pictures, post them on my stories or post them on Facebook, that people out there will not come or who have not been, maybe they're not here yet about Design Week, go look at these pictures and understand, say this and this and this and this now happened at the Design Week, and this was all, and this is what it was all about. So what are the characters? What are the elements then where I go focus on as I'm using these means for to communicate? So definitely, and this was one of them, like you see, the community characters, the elements in the community, shift the story away from the ladies and from the women, and also show, how the community they thrive, how people do things in the community. So like as I say, I'll come here, I'll capture the speakers, right? I'll capture pictures of wide images of the room, the hall. Show say, these people, somewhere sitting, somewhere standing, and they had like projectors, they had screens, and they had speakers. And then I'll capture close-up shots, intimate shots of maybe people focusing as those young men over there, they get their hand on their cheek. And then probably even the one there where they type on their phone or sim for they take notes. You capture those pictures. Close-ups, you capture like detail shots, and you capture expressions, right? And you capture even like funny moments, people laughing, and people even asking questions, maybe standing up, raising their hands up to ask questions. So if you're using visual storytelling through photography as a means to convey like a story and raise awareness on a particular thing. So these are some of the things that we have to understand. Going back to like what we see as that from the title. And the next image you see again, the same community, a young kid in school. And after this again, the next, why you're seeing this is because in my line of work, as I say, a visual storyteller and using mainly documentary photography and filmmaking. So as a documentary photographer, like I'm trying to like explain this for maybe some of you who would want to, you know, maybe get involved in what I'm doing down the line. Because I'm doing photography mainly for actually raise stories them for, you know, for awareness and, you know, inspire social change and change the narratives about Salone. And so that's why you see now it's the same community, a school, we're in a like Pambodi school. And then using the next image, yeah? And here, it's not the community, it's another picture where I take, like another documentary project that I worked on. You can see, I don't know how they call these men, like, what are Muslims in a sheikh. So, go walk in our village, also telling a story, another village day. And in the morning, the kids them, the farmer in picking them, they go for like class, this Islamic class. So here you can see after these pictures, we are going to go deeper into like the different elements and how you can tell the stories, how you can actually, when you look at this picture, what's not the first way to capture your eye? Can someone answer me here? When you look at this picture, the man, right? The sheikh, eh? The moment you look at the picture, the first thing that attracts you or captures your eye is the sheikh, right? Right? And then, because every other element now, apart from the man in the book, it is out of focus. You understand? So basically, the out of focus, it basically tells you not to the central theme now, not to like the central focus. Like what I want you to see here is the man. And then you should be able to like, when you look at a picture, understand like what does this picture say? And what are the different elements in this picture and how, what are the messages it's trying to pass on? Basically, a man sitting reading a Quran. And then what else do we see? We see a group of kids in the background. So that basically tells me that this man is a teacher and they teach these kids Arabic, right? So just from that picture, just from looking at this image, we've been able to receive a message and information, right? So it sparks you, it triggers your curiosity. Like it will make you want to know now, say, okay, if let's say for instance, you were not from Salone and you don't understand this culture, you don't understand what is it that they're doing. And that's one of the things that I do if I'm online and I see something, we're probably like, not native to me. The next thing is one or two elements from that, whether it's a video or picture or even graphic, where I'm interested in, what I pick out from that image, I'm going to like go on Google and search on them. And now like, so for instance now, if you not know whether in Arabic, what they teach, if you zoom in, you see the Arabic, you see the Quran. You want to go say, okay, waiting. Why people did they learn Arabic? Why people did they learn this? Why people did they learn that? Usually we'll go quickly to the next image. So now we have the type of photo stories. What do we see quickly? I mean, let's make this a bit more interactive. And so what do we see? The type of photo stories, because visual storying through photography, it's a photo story thing. You're telling stories through photography. So what are the different type of photo stories? we see personal, we see documentary, we see editorial, we see conceptual and abstract, and we see commercial and brand. And for some of us who are here, how many photographers do we have? This guy raising hand, eh? And Barry, not so Barry again. How many photographers do we have? Aside from these two, anybody else waiting to Eugene also? Anybody else? Okay. So from this 5 type of photo stories that we have here, these 5 types, these 5 different types, how many do we identify with where we like really understand or we don't do? How many? I know most of you have done the personal, because most photographers in a salon, they do photo shoots. I remember when I started photography and of course, being in salon, you have to dabble into like different forms of, the elements there, identity there. I did a few photo shoots because at the start I was still trying to like identify what me interest and really day into. And then sometimes you just do it to learn, to actually improve on your skills, because one of the things that me really hate now for limits myself. So even if I not get plan for like expanding that, I'll prefer I learn and then get basic knowledge. So in case now person can call me, I want you to take me a picture, photo shoot, I'll be able to take your picture. Not to just because as I be basic photography skills, but because I will actually take your picture, whether it's for an editorial, as you can see here. So personal says intimate narratives that document personal experiences, family moments, and then individual journeys. Right? We've all done that. We've captured birthdays, we've captured weddings, we've captured funerals, and all of that falls into that, like personal. As I mentioned earlier, that visual storytelling through photography, like photo stories, can also be used. And anybody that already captured pictures, I know where in a church, you've seen photographers working in church, right? Like over the past 6-7 years, it don't become a thing now in our salon churches. It was not a thing before, because photography become popular like by 2016-17. Then I didn't say it became popular back in our salon. Before that, it was mainly, you don't see young people as photographers. You see older people. You see these guys Lion Photo Studio. You see them. And then you see expatriates coming in as like journalists. So that's why we hold camera and a tongue. Before photo shoots cameras, then see a journalist. That was the whole idea. Because people were not really, privy to this. And then now when you hold the camera, the next thing people say, do you do photo shoots? Because that is the level of information where they're exposed to. So personal photography in a church, like as I say, most times in my church where I begin for like guide me colleagues them and with media team, I always tell them, say, each Sunday service or each service where you take pictures, you're actually telling a story of what happened at the service today. So your mind has to be attuned to what are the different elements, what are the different characters, what they really happen here today. You have the basic way they happen every Sunday. You have the sermon, you have the offering, you have the praise time, you have the testimonies, depending on the church. There you have the announcements. So, then how do you make this not look redundant? Like in sense, you make every 10 person look at the pictures, like they see different things. It is by how you focus on these different elements, these different characters in the service, and you tell, because each service gets a unique story. The fact, say, even the sermon that they preach every Sunday different, so it means, say, each service gets a unique story. It's not always the same. So even if you say, na mock self, you want capture like a Friday, how they call on Juma, a Juma, right? A Friday Juma service, you want capture. And then we have documentary. So some of the pictures that I showed you just now, pictures from a documentary photography session. So you see like real life events and issues captured with authenticity and journalistic integrity. So maybe you go one for ask like, what's in the journalistic integrity? Eugene, I don't even know, man. So what's not the journalistic integrity here? I mean, if lately I've been delving, you go deeper into like media and journalism, and working with media houses, global media houses back don't make I don't learn a few journalistic like ethics, ethics in journalism. So, for instance, then he say you don't take a picture of a child, especially if you're working for like global media houses. You don't take a picture maybe of a child wear tinap in our clothes. If you're doing a picture in Gaza, like I mentioned earlier, in Gaza, like a war-torn country, and you want for sure, those they can allow that. But you don't take pictures of a child. And especially in Africa, child labor very private. We see them like it's the outside. So you're not allowed to take pictures of a child like in child labor, doing child labor. So those are like some journalistic integrity, journalism ethics under documentary photography. And you see like editorial images for publications that combine artistic vision with storytelling purpose. And if we go to the next slide, Eugene, please, I told you you're helping me here today. If you go to the next slide, I have a few pictures that were put together where some of these different. So you see in the middle, that is an editorial photo shoot. Like it's for a fashion brand. And then you see on this other side over here, you see an old lady. There's a picture where you can see like the wide picture. So basically, this one on the middle are editorial photo stories. And then this on the right now, documentary. And then the one on the far left, we go come to now conceptual. We will talk just now about like abstract. It's a street photograph where I take for, you know, tell like whatever the different things on the street. But then edit and then add other things to them for make them conceptual and abstract. You get? So if we go to the next slide, and then we have, usually go back to the previous slide. And then we have the commercial brand shoot. You're a photographer, you don't do commercial shoots for like a brand, right? You probably get a friend where they do polos them, you want to do t-shirts, you want for sale, and then he calls you as a photographer. Like, I need you to help me take pictures for, you know, for promotion, for marketing purposes. So there is a way as well how you apply, because you want for sell the product. So in all those different photography, photo story types, there's always a unique thing about all of them, and how you want for like sell this out to the people, to the audience. So if I want to sell a brand, I want to sell this mic, or I want to sell rings and jewelries. Like, there are ways that I tell that story, right? But you cannot just grab a camera and then you take pictures, or you go to that level of being able for make people then find deep meaning from your work if you don't understand the basics. Like, you don't understand the definitions and the differences to all of this. You just will say, if I want to do street photography, I just have to go out there and then open my camera, open the lens, and I just snap. But we're going to go into all of that in this short time where I get. So, and then we don't talk about conceptual, just no abstract. You have, if you search on Instagram, you search for abstract fine arts. They want to call themselves as like fine arts photographers, right? It's like, it's completely different. But that is conceptual. It's also like abstract photography. You know, they use like artistic interpretations for you know, convey, make you let them work, make them, you see their skills, you see their artistic vision. And we're going on to the next slide now. You see a picture of a woman smiling. Go next. You see a picture of a woman smiling. Now we're going to talk about what we're going to talk about here now. We can't talk about the, like, you know, the different ways then that we can actually tell our stories for convey meaning to people, to audience. So you look at this picture. What can anybody tell me, aside from the woman being beautiful in a yellow dress, waiting, if you look at the picture, what are the emotions that you get, that way they evoke, way with trigger in you? Huh? Cheerful. Cheerful, eh? She looks happy, right? So And usually I'll go to the next slide real quick. Then we see that picture where we see them people them. I was walking around the streets. I just like find like different things then for see and capture. And I met this group of women. Then sit down. It was in the evening, 5, 6. So clearly tells you that from this picture, from the day's toil, the pass up and down, try for sell. She's tired. She's like really, really tired. So, and that is what this picture gives you. Not supposed to really smile. She's not smiling. Huh? She can be tired, confused, worried. Yeah? What else? And then when you look at again, we're going to look at composition techniques. That's what we're going to look at now. And when you look at the pictures, there are 3 different people in the picture. Eh? What that first year they go to? Now the woman. Because now that woman there I really want for like let people see. So there are ways because photography mainly the eye, then say most of the things that you do, photography and even, that's why we'll talk about visual storytelling, even with people that sketch. If you go back to the Leonardo da Vinci's, you look at the artwork and everything, even back there where digital photography not been there, but most of the elements and then they use, where they use even with the sketching and then drawing, like all of that basically became embedded with photography, especially like digital and visual photography. So most of the basics, most of the skills then self, usually don't go off, then use them there. And one of these ways is composition. Because when the human eye sees something, they see things through a frame. Because even from we eye, the 2 eyes them, what we see, the vision that we see here. They say, the last time I was checking, like the human eye, waiting at the equivalent in focal length, where the human eye they see come to photography, and it says that approximately the human eye sees through like a 24mm lens, like a wide lens, not to ultra wide, it's a wide lens. And so that means, say, because it sees through a 24mm focal length, so even with vision, it's a frame. So when we look at things, when we look at even pictures, there are things that were forced to capture with eye because of their position, because of how they are positioned within the frame. So no matter what, then things, then they immediately you see the picture, now then force your eye to be drawn to. So even if there was something else in this picture, yeah, even if something else was positioned here, when you see this picture, it will take you like a keen look before you go able to see that. I lie? And usually, let's go through the next one. And it's just a group of pictures, like a group of portraits of different kids. Here again, one of the things I want to like really look at is position and composition and lighting. If you look at the picture, one of the things that you pick out, that you notice from the picture, is that it feels warm, right? The tone amongst all the 3 different pictures. Of course, warm tone and my own like signature look, because I like for convey like happy feelings and good vibe. So if you look at the faces, you see warm tones. But then when you look at the faces of the kids, you look at this first bubble, you see there are different kids in the picture, right? But immediately you see an info. Despite infoling, you need to be like, no, I don't want to see infoling. What do you see? Like his energy, the waiting, it's contagious. Immediately you see it, you want to laugh. And even this kid we're posed in the middle as well. We're going to also look at like borderlines and how you can also, you look at the kid. Now a picture I take like a week ago, Saturday, MPSC. Usually you expect that we're supposed to go sit the exam. Most of we adults say now, like we will be so anxious, right? Like anxiety. There's no way we're able to actually pose and smile. But the lighting was perfect because the place beside Entinap had a roof, so the lighting we actually so perfect, the way it hit them, and I was like, yo, I'm going to take that picture. So the composition and our frame and everything had to make sure, say, the way the lighting they hit them, and when you see the picture, immediately you look at the photo, that's what you see. Her, she's beautiful. You see him well-plaited hair, and then the other kid, the same place same place, then snap na the line on a queue. They wait for them, call them, their numbers, for them go inside. Again, there's another child in the background, separating foreground and background. And Eugene, let's quickly go to the next slide. And this next slide is one of my favorite all-time pictures. I took this picture 7 years ago. It's still one of my best pictures. This, the frame, it's the frame within the frame. Do you understand what I mean by that? A frame within a frame. I mean, they take pictures of this community, and you know, I can look for walk around, just look at. And whilst walking around, one of the things that I quickly saw as I passed from this house, I see 2 kids, then they, you know, they beat, yes, I rest in the beat. And I took that picture. So it's composition, right? Composition basically means how you compose your characters, your different elements within a frame for draw attention. You want for look for picture, you don't want for struggle for find meaning. When you're looking at something visually, let's say for instance, if you give somebody like an assignment from your workplace or your party, say Sam, send for me pictures if you travel, right? You want from the pictures where your party they send, you want to see say your party really enjoy the trip there, you want to see the beauty of who your party go. You don't want to struggle. If you see the pictures that you struggle for, I don't really understand what you had to watch. That means like nothing was communicated properly to you. What you want, the moment you look at something, you open and you look at the frame, you want to see the central attention, like the central focus, like we could say like probably the principal focus from the picture. Eugene, and the next, so we're going to look at the different composition techniques, and we're going to come back to these different pictures, right? We have the first one says, the first one, rule of thoughts. Aside from the photographers here, maybe you have people who are visual when an artist already draw. And I believe, like as I say, these principles also they apply to their own artistic, their own work, their nature as well. So even as, do we have videographers here or filmmakers? Huh? Do we have people into videography and filmmaking, right? You understand rule of thoughts? Because, I mean, photography are like the fundamentals and the basics for anything visual, basically. They all have the same fundamental principles. So rule of thoughts, as we can see here, the first one, now basically 4 intersecting lines. So 4 intersecting horizontal and vertical lines, right? And the one that we make the rules, like school of thoughts, and then say waiting, that the 4 major parts of a frame that captures focus, that immediately draws attention from the human eye. Now the 4 intersecting points within the frame, beside the horizontal and vertical lines they intersect. That anything that you position within those 4 points, immediately anybody look at a picture or video, their mind, their attention immediately gets drawn to those 4 points. And we have here placing key elements along grid lines or at their intersections for balanced dynamic compositions. And the 4 lines here are this one, this one, this one, this one. So the one that we make the rules for, you know, anything visual and artistic, that's what they say. So even if you go look Leonardo da Vinci, all of them, like, you know, historic artists, you look at their work, they all apply rule of thoughts to all their paintings. If you go watch the famous, what do they call it? The picture of Christ, how do they call that picture, Seth? The Last Supper. If you watch the Last Supper, if you're able, do 1920 by 1080. You take the picture of the Last Supper, put them in there, and then put the intersecting lines if you can, and then see whose side and they fall, especially the heads, everything. And let me go back to some of the pictures then, where I show you earlier, where I asked you now, where immediately you look at the picture, what first comes to mind? And then you see how the rule of thoughts actually, like, you know, captures this. And so you see here, So if I'm going to split this now into 4, right? She falls here. She's not centered. So for balance and composition dynamics and rule of thoughts, her head is in one of the intersecting points. Sometimes you can take a picture, you not take them within this format, but then digital tools now don't give you the freedom for frame and compose you image as you want them. So you can compose them and then you make a point, a cover one of these points because you want them for let it be really. And another picture again that I'll show. This picture. This in head not directly at one of the intersecting points, but it capture one of the spaces on the side. And it creates that balance and for the negative feel. Because your attention is not going to go to where the negative space is on one side, one of the thoughts stem for. Because you basically, if you go again, you look at the lines, it splits the screen into 3 parts, right? You have 1, 2, 3, right? So, and then if you look again, even with this woman as well, if I can apply the rule of thoughts here, she falls in the thoughts. You understand, eh? She falls in one of the thoughts. And so, why you use this for as a technique for convey and pass information, there's no way you can navigate without these tools. So if you like wanting to improve and grow within your work is by understanding how do I use this. These tools are there and create them for, it's just like if you're doing maths and we're gonna be science students. Maths, you have formulas, right? You have formulas the way they apply into certain mathematic problems that gives you solutions. If you don't apply then solution then formulas, then you still will forget solutions from them. And Eugene, we'll go back to the rule of thoughts. Okay, yeah. And then another one that we call them leading lines. Who would understand leading lines? It says waiting, use natural lines to draw viewers' eye toward the main subject and create depth. A picture I can show you now, it broke the rule of thoughts but then because of leading lines, it make immediately you look at the picture, you see what's in the primary principal focus. And this picture. So can someone tell me the lines in this picture? The blue, the what? So one of these lines, Uday can intersect and touch. The woman, right? So these lines, they draw your attention to this woman. So leading lines. If you go, when you understand these basics, it even changes the way you watch movies. Where you understand these things, like it changes the way you watch movies. When you watch films now, you go they pause frames, because each frame people do it intentionally because it's what they want to draw your attention to. You go see like a wide frame in a bus, and you see maybe in a train, you see the seats, the row, and you see inside the person sit down. You check, it's either the rule of thoughts or leading lines. These are all composition techniques that they're using to actually draw your attention. And usually we'll go to the next frame. We'll go back to the previous frame. And then we have framing. Use natural elements to create a frame within your image that focuses attention on your subject. If we look at back this picture, this is framing. Right? I use natural elements for draw your attention towards the subject. I use this frame. So that's why I then call and say the frame within a frame. Like with you guys sitting up, for instance, if I'm documenting, I want to tell a story of like digital, the design week. Most of the things that I use for work with, I like depth. I like for use depth and also guide. So with this lady sitting here now, as a visual person, this space waiting between these chairs, that's where my focus will be. If I had to take a picture now, I'll take a picture through this line. Because immediately you look, I want to frame your attention for actually see them directly. So that is what I would do. It's one technique that I will use. So you have all these different techniques that you can use in the way that you feel necessary for convey and communicate what you want to communicate. So you can use rule of thoughts, you can use leading lines, like for instance these chairs, all these lines where this row, you can use these lines. You can use vertical lines, you can even use, sometimes you can use diagonal lines. It doesn't have to be horizontal lines. So, but again, I'm going to say this, you have fine art photographers who are actually breaking these rules. These are rules, they're there to guide you to make your work easier. But then you can break these rules. And then we have go back. And then we have depth and layering. It says waiting, create a sense of dimension by including foreground, middle ground, and background. You will understand what that means. A sense of dimension by creating foreground, background, and middle ground. And when we look at the picture of the sheikh, what do we see? We saw there was a foreground basically that the waiting the front, and then there's a background. Middle ground not be there much there. And I'm going to show another picture now. Usually go the next frame, go down. Go. Yeah, so this picture, basically, it's depth and layering. If you see, there's a foreground. Basically, there is something in front of the subject, right? But it's out of waiting, it's out of focus. It's out of focus. You see the girl, and then there's waiting. So this picture now, we use the depth and layering. You have the foreground, you have the middle ground. She's the middle ground. And then you have the background, right? So most times people then can use the foreground as the central focus. Sometimes people can use the background as the central focus. But like in this case, I use the middle ground as the principal focus. And I use the foreground to actually frame and draw your attention to her, right? Is that not what we're saying here? So depth and layering. I use the depth and layering technique in this picture for draw your attention and for make you see that, oh, I see a group of kids, I see girls, I see boys, and then there's this girl standing in the middle, facing the camera, smiling, all dressed, in a uniform attire. Whether or not you go think it's an assembly, because in this picture, go figure out saying exams, where you will definitely know say it's something that has to do with school, right? And then we have this other picture as well. Lines. Here are basically incorporated lines. The lines, basically the human, the shoulders, and then the Q. And if you look at if you look at them again, it falls in one of the thoughts, but just that it's more central. If you split this screen now, like it is center, but then used these other elements like for layer and make sure he's in the middle. And lastly, we have, if we go back to the composition technique, we have negative space. Negative space. Use empty space strategically to emphasize your subject and create powerful visual impact. What do we understand by negative space? What do we understand if we're going to have a conversation like that? Bag, you right out. Negative space. Yeah. A space, an empty space. Void. But just like photography terms now and cinematography, you say negative space. So even this picture of this woman. Oh, is that? This picture of this woman. Yeah, gets a lot of negative space. Because this is where the subject is. And then all of this is empty. And this picture, so if you're doing documentary photography, you're working for an NGO, or maybe one of the things that they tell you Now so then collect them pictures. You wanna tell me why? If you actually watch Boku documentary like for NGOs, most of these people, you understand why they love negative space. Because where they're going to use these pictures for convey messages, they're going to add text and words. They're going to add graphics, and mostly they're going to put it here. So you have to leave negative space for most of their work. Like this, they'll take this picture. Like this, I captured this picture for power gen. So they will use this, her name, and then they write her story, how power gen has actually transformed the solars that they provided, how they've impacted her life. She's sitting in front of her store in her village. So they will use this, hard graphics, and then put her name there. Right? And so this picture as well, of course, rule of thoughts and negative space. You see the man in the streets in the middle of town, you know, putting his phone in his bag, then they pass around. But foreground and background, he's the main focus. And then there's empty space around. This was not for an NGO, it was for me. But so you play with these different rules. So you don't mean say you always just need to apply one. You play, they're always going to like, you know, merge and intersect to help you. And then you have this, so now we go into like lights and color in storytelling. We ever know that? I mean, maybe that blew your mind, that there are ways that you use lights and colors for convey and so in Hollywood, even in films, if you go back home, do this, watch movies that are, if it's a sad scene, if it's a funeral scene, or if it's a sad scene, somebody they cry, you'll never see that scene being lit or the color being warm. What do you go see? Cold blue tones. Because waiting, blue tones depict waiting. Sorrow, depict sadness. Whilst warm tones depict waiting, happiness. So, how do you use these tones as well in your photography to capture and communicate what you want for communicate the story, the essence of your story? Like as I say, if I'm capturing pictures from a funeral, I need to edit them pictures and I make them they look warm. Even if this glow at that moment was warm, and post, I they change that glow, they make them a bit more cooler because it's a funeral. So these small margins, and then they separate you as a photographer, as probably we're intentional about what you want to do, from possibly just enthusiastic about them when are just mediocre. So even if you're using your phone, even if you don't have, when I start photography, the first job where I get from photography, the first big job where begin pay me big in dollars and foreign currency, those were pictures that I took with a Samsung Galaxy A6. Not even pictures taken with a camera. Pictures taken with a Samsung Galaxy A6. Those were the pictures that I submitted that gave me the opportunity to be invited for an interview. And then from the interview now, it was not much, it was just about you selling yourself. And then I was told like explicitly to my face that, hey, you're getting this job not because now you send the best pictures in terms of like quality and all of that, because I mean my pictures were taken with my phone. They said, but it was basically because of you have a good eye for telling stories. And why I get good eye for tell story? It's because immediately where you see the picture, you get drawn to waiting at the focus. Waiting the picture, they try for communicate and tell you. So you, Dan and immediately talk say, yeah, you get good eye. It's because when you see the picture immediately, you just see what's in the picture, they try for pass on to you. And for me as a photographer, especially document kids travel lifestyle photographer, when that happens, I feel successful. Because I want to do that. There's a popular picture I took a couple of years ago. The first time person to ever cry in my presence because of my pictures. Yeah, there's some guy working pass around town, get dreadlocks and everything. I take him picture. I edited that picture. It was a close-up picture. I want put on black and white. I want to put on black and white. I made it monochrome. So basically, not monochrome really. It was mixed. It be the middle between warm and cool. And immediately this lady saw the picture. She stood there for a while, watched, and asked me like, stay, no move, just keep the picture. And next thing, she able to take out like tissues and they wipe in her and they cry. It's not the first time ever they don't see picture and then they cry. They say because looking at the picture, I don't know if I can like, I don't know side that picture. Say looking at the picture through the man in eye, like it see the man in stories, like everything that man don't go through, like all the man experiences, like everything we don't battle, like all in struggles. And there's another picture of a lady as well where I saw a couple of years ago where this guy Kriyobobo. If you watch Kriyobobo, most of his pictures they were make in office back in the US. There's a very big print and big, like a large print of an old lady. Eugene, I don't know if I will add up to you real quick. Yeah, a picture of an old lady. A print put on it was back of your office. So when they're doing videos themselves, like you see the picture. It's the first time ever where I sell picture at that price where I sell where somebody from outside salon or to salon person buy the picture. I'm trying to get the picture and show it to you guys. Sorry. This, excuse me please. I have to, this is going to drag on. Eugene, your head go up there on it. Excuse me, guys. Just give me a few seconds. I think let's just move on. Eugene. So yeah, unable to see the picture yet. So natural light and artificial light, the light and color and storytelling. We have golden hour, we have shadows and highlights, we have color psychology. The color psychology, that's what I was saying just now, that's where you find the warm and cool tones and the message that they depict. And you see warm hues, warm tones, orange and red, evoke intimacy and energy, while cool tones like blue and green, they suggest calm, distance, or melancholy. And then you have shadows and highlights. The contrast between light and dark creates dimension. If you go through my my page, you pick one of the things that you pick up from the pictures, you realize that most of my pictures, they're very contrasting. And because I like where the pictures they get depth. So mood and drama wise also directing viewer attention to key narratives and key elements. And then golden hour, we all know golden hour now. That's soft, warm. I think there's a slide there for golden hour, is it? Like this picture, now golden, it was taken between that time as well because I'll be like 6 or something. And yeah, and so just, and then natural light and artificial light. People then, for those who have been in photography, they know the artificial lights, the lights we add for, you know, especially if you're taking pictures here. Whereas me, I like for use natural lights mainly because I like for you to keep the pictures naturally looking. And most people, even in documentary photography, most people like for them to use light as well because depending on the situation. And what natural light, it creates organic, authentic feel, while artificial light offers control and drama, each telling a different type of story. It depends on your what you're into and what type of messages that we want to convey with your work. And then they will tell you like what kind of, you have people that really do photo shoots in different countries when they use artificial light because they want all them pictures then for feel natural, like they do the screen touching and all of that. And so these are like the color, just color psychology, understanding light and color. How can you use light and color for able for communicate and pass on the information that you want to pass on, like visually. And we have capturing the decisive moment. And like a famous photographer says, he said to me, photography is the simultaneous recognition in a fraction of a second of the significance of an event. Most of the great and popular photographers, them, even the one they really do like photojournalism, like telling photo stories, is you basically most times you leave your house, you understand what you want for capture. But I always tell people that when you go out there, just open your mind. And just because that money shot, most times when you call on that money shot, that one image, you will capture maybe 10, 15, but that one image, now most times it happen in moments. So being able to wait for that precise moment where everything perfect, like you saw earlier where I showed a picture of that kid where it's up in the middle, where I say, outside and be there, the covering, and that precise moment there, the lights were spilled through and shine in face. And it was that exact moment, immediately where I see the shot, I was moving around the fence, what do I want to take pictures of next? And immediately my attention got drawn to that. The light, I set my camera and snap because the light will change and we'll get them again. And sometimes you can able to manipulate that in post, but it will be to the greater effect we get them as how you will get them in post. So that make the guy say to me, say photography is a simultaneous recognition in a fraction of a second of the significance of an event. Timing is everything. The perfect moment when all elements align to tell a complete story in a single frame. And then look for expression. Especially if you're doing, like as I say, if I'm telling a story of here now, where maybe if I be crack a funny joke, I'm not that funny. If I be crack a funny joke and everybody laugh, if I'm telling a story now, I'm looking for those moments where like it's organic. Not where I can say laugh for me, but it's always a difference when the person laugh, like it feels more authentic where it's not staged. So that moment, if I'm here now photographing this event for tell a story, after I probably don't capture of the sessions, the teachers, those are the moments where they look for now. Those moments, they require attention, they require patience. So if you're not one of those photographers where, or you want to do this and really, you can't. You have to be very intentional. You need to get them pictures and they by mistake. And then you say patience and observation. I always tell people one of the strongest gifts and where God give me, where I can say maybe that will help me greatly back in photography. Now being my skills for observe. So even in streets, imagine you watch now streets, you pass PZ. Out of the many things the way they go on. Like how do you navigate from one thing to another, looking at the different characters. If you can see here, like before, decisive moment, after. As a picture I'm going to show you, where for me, it captures this. Capture that decisive moment. Two things in motion. They move in the same direction. A bike and Omolanke. They move at the same time. But they all get two different stories now, two different characters. Where on that day, the story I want to tell, it was a story of like everyday happenings in Central Freetown. The hustle and the bustle, the business dynamics, the flow. One me party see and one poster me status. I get this week in post week is a flow. As you see that picture, then I write and it's a flow. And if you look here, this, see this picture? It's a decisive moment. How? Waiting at what's the coincidence that the bike and this guy with the sell with the push. And if you see the bike, not a commercial bike. So if you even want to break them down, this is a BMW bike. It's expensive. The guy self well dressed. Compare the two different characters. You see the juxtaposition between the all two. This probably is going home. Or probably go chill, they go hang out with friends. Well, this guy waiting. He didn't in daily hustles. It's like everyday Freetown. These are the things that you see. People, resilience. This man, waiting. You drive a bike, me they push me on Olanke. They go and sell. The coincidence for me, immediately where I see the shots, immediately when I capture, I was like, okay, now this picture I want to capture. Immediately as I don't come on and I say for until I move go. Because that was what I wanted. And when you look at the picture, your eye gets drawn to these two and nothing else. Right? Maybe later now you're able to watch. So observation, patience, and like you see here, look for expression. But in that case, I wasn't looking for expression. And timing. How fast you're able to actually trigger and set your camera for get this. And lastly, these are just like ethics in visual storytelling. The things that you have to know. Aside from the rules for composition, like the ethics, especially if you want to go down into like documentary photography or filmmaking, some of the basics that you have to understand, where like informed consent. If you work for NGOs, you work for global media houses, before then they hire you, or after they hire you for the job, one of the first things that they will send to you are consent forms. This means that anybody who you snap, anybody that they inside the picture, it has to sign a consent form, basically giving approval for this picture to be used, because they are going to use those pictures and post them all over.
The sick children are the slums. Now for snap with them picking and black picking them. Go na then slum then snap. What's in other self they believe say na so Indian day, even if self they believe say na so Indian day, even if it's so a day. Now make also a day. Now make a lot of people way outside of Africa also. A lot of people way outside of Africa also. They have of Africa. They have of Africa. This is the idea they have of. This is the idea they have of African children. African children. That's the pendant under dictatorship. So that's the pendant under dictatorship. So a lot of make Sierra Leone's this Sierra Leone's this war-torn country. This war-torn country. Them paradise them all. Paradise them all. Like for instance, we can see example TikTok. Once you can see example TikTok. One side in Africa then can always go before them go. Side in Africa then can always go before them go back. Age matters a lot. Back. Age matters a lot. Matters a lot. We not be the recording moments here. Any recording moments here. And recording them not just mean for say for take video. Recording them not just mean for say for take video. Photographs. For take video. Photographs. Look at them. Photographs. Look at them. Now from look at them. Now from home setting come on. Office. Now from home setting come on. Office. So at the end, from home setting come on. Office. So at the end, I decide not to post. So at the end, I decide not to post those pictures. Decide not to post those pictures. how we brand we serve, the, for example, Nigeria. If you think about Nigeria, if you think about the storytellers, the skits makers, at the end, everything becomes how things are. So the same thing goes for you guys. If you try for thank you.
A very interactive one. So I was
like marketing a particular business.
Anybody else? Copodio. Anybody else? Copodio. Anybody else? Copodio. Anybody else? And funnily, people can always say branding are just like a one particular aspect, just a little bit energetic. Somebody on branding is just the name of symbol to be like, oh, I post where they gone. And if you even say boom match together, oh, I post where they gone. And if you even say boom match together, or how white and black go match together, yes, it is necessary. How white and black go match together, yes, it is necessary for getting. Is it functional? Does it page necessary for getting? Is it functional? Does it page document? Is it functional? Does it page document? To something new and starting document to something new and starting company. First way they say our logo. It's like line is wings to fly. So they say our logo. It's like line is wings to fly. It's like line is wings to fly. Right? And even is wings to fly. Right? And even if anybody don't watch like Red Bull and advertisements NSI, oh can't get this, meant NSI, oh can't get this. Well, instead of telling you can't get this, then they show you for me. Instead of telling you can't get this, then they show you for me. So you need to be consistent. And then there is the visual aspect of also the consistent for your business. It's like they sent a whole 50-page document. I can come back locally to examples. Orange AfriCell, catchy for young people. Like some older person like, what's nonsense this? For young people, like some older person like, what's nonsense this? But then and they target more of the brand tone. If you the brand
1, 2. Hi, good afternoon. Left NTR. Please come in. Please come in. Have to sit. Eugene. Nice.